All right, it's data time. I don't really intend for this data update to be too, watched. I'm not doing this for clicks, but I'm doing this for people who want to know which 18 are down, which 2 are up, and what's the deal with the data. What does data look like when it's good or bad? And that way you can follow up on any school that you want if you get this context. So I'm going to go through this kind of fast. I'm going to assume that you can pause if you want to. And I want to remind you that I studied 20 schools, 18 definitely dropped. And what do those 18 and the other 2 look like? So everyone starts with Notre Dame. They started really early, and they also went on a pause really early, August 24th. The pause has held up. Since then, the only person that I know of from Notre Dame who's tested positive has been their president. So you have this issue with there was a 2-week remote pause. They returned to in-class on September 7th, and cases stayed down. Daily cases reported 0. 7-day positivity rate 0.8%. Anything below 1, in my opinion, you're home free. Illinois State University, they had a really bad day, but then it came back down. And as far as I know, they did not take a toggle term kind of reaction to that. And again, the cases have stayed down. It looks like Notre Dame. So Notre Dame took a pause. It worked. Illinois State University didn't. It worked. University of Illinois did a big, this is Urbana-Champaign, UIUC. I'm not used to these abbreviations. But they had the first day, the cases went up, they paused, and then after their pauses are always about 2 weeks. You see that there's just maybe a little bump up in cases, but not too much at all. And this is with their saliva testing. Their case positivity rate is below 0.5%. Part of that is because they're running so many tests because of their saliva stations. UW-Madison, this is one where they resumed September 21st, and if you look after September 21st, again, there's a little bump of maybe, I don't know, 2 dozen cases at most for a big school like UW-Madison. And then it went down. We are now 2 weeks past the resumption. So I would say, the county head is saying, I think that the students should not come back to class. I think the county head was wrong. I'm going to show this data, and I'm going to say they did do a pause, and the data did go down. So another university that paused, went down. University of Arizona had a late pause, and they had dorm shelter in place. The good news is, right now, things are down. Their dorm shelter in place should be over right now, and they just had 28 positive tests. Their tests have not gone away to the same level, but again, they're at the same level that Wisconsin was, that Wisconsin bumped up to. So keep an eye on this, but it's definitely in the category of having gone down. University of Texas Austin, they're the ones that had the big spike on 9/11 or 9/12 because they had a bunch of students get tested because they had to get tested to go to see football. And so you can see that since that time, they have had no days like that again, and the cases are way down. They've had a couple of faculty staff cases, and that's what I find interesting because that's a sign. Assuming that it's not RAs or something like that, it's a sign that there might be some classroom or community transmission outside of household transmission. But whatever it is, there's only a few cases. It's just that even that is more than what I usually see. That little teal bump at the bottom stands out as weird. So, University of Florida, Alachua County, I was saying it was up at 9:20, and I'm hoping it goes down, and look, it's gone down. It stayed down. Florida State University started a week earlier. They went down earlier. So you have the same issue. Again, this is a county dashboard for a county that includes the state capital. There's more going on here than just the university. But if the university is exploding in cases, and if it's spreading to the community, then you would see it here. And here you have somebody who's been there for a long time, and its cases are following the same pattern that you see everywhere else. University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa. Now, this is one that you could make the case to me that they're staying flat. But I really do think they had that big peak pretty close to the first day. And then they had one bad day since. And so, yeah, it's flattish. But I'm still going to say this is going down. And it's kind of like, I say it's going down. You can say it's flat. It's not exponentially growing. Maybe University of Alabama has a situation where they're staying flat like the other 2 schools. I'm going to call it going down. And at worst, it's 1 out of 20 schools. Here's University of Georgia again. I just want to show you this because, to me, this is the center of the data people should be talking about. Wastewater has gone down. Cases have gone down. All this has happened without extreme measures, and they've been able to have school under similar normal-ish protocols. COVID normal, right? But normal is working. COVID normal is working. The other wastewater school is Arizona State University, and I have the wastewater numbers there. Remember that the pink is where the campus is, but the purple is where Frat Row is. And so you have the pink, and the pink has been below the yellow level. You know, it's sort of yellow-green, and it's sort of bumping around, and it has come back up a little bit. But the wastewater here at least shows, at the very least, flat, not out of control. It looks similar to the Georgia data. It's just that it never got as high as the Georgia data, with the possible exception of the purple here. And the purple here has gone down. Again, this data has a lot of uncertainty, so I don't even want to say for sure that it's gone down, rather than it's not going up to red levels. But I also know that Arizona State University's president has gone on the record as being fairly happy with how the fragile stability is holding. Gonzaga, they are actually reporting sort of a flat level of cases, and they have seen a couple of cases in the past few weeks. For a small school like Gonzaga, this is, I believe this is off and on campus. The one thing I see is that it says 10-3 and it has 0. It also has 10-10 and it has 0. I think that the 10-3 data is good, but they don't report anything. And so Gonzaga, I just have to have the question of, are they, do we have reporting? If we don't, then they're flat. If we do, then things are good. The thing I'm going to take from this, though, is that their overall positivity rate is below 1. So that's why I'm going to put them in the good category, even though I have questions. You always have questions about some data. It's the way data is. Washington State University, it was going down, but it was gray at that point. So I look at this now, and cases are continuing to go down. Again, the recent gray cases don't change that much in my experience. Maybe the last week will change. So again, it might be bumping around a little bit down there, but it's definitely peaked, then gone down. University of Tennessee, the whole system. This, by the way, does it by active cases, so it's a little bit hard to compare quantitatively to the other ones. But you can see that the isolations and quarantines have gone down. They definitely have capacity to be able to handle the level of quarantines that they have right then. And the only thing is, I went to Chattanooga, so you have sort of a bigger city and a smaller school situation. And I was interested to see that isolations and quarantines have ticked up a little bit for them ever since they started, and I believe August 19 is when they started. So it's off the edge of this graph when they started. They might be seeing a little bit of an uptick, so I put them in the category, this is the first of the 2 schools that I'm genuinely seeing a rise for. And Appalachian State University, this one stands out as the one I can't explain, but at least it stands out. You know, people say it's the exception that proves the rule, and that's always a weird argument to make. But this really does look to me like the exception that proves the rule, for the other schools are not doing this. The other thing I have to say about this is also active cases, so it's a little bit hard to tell. You see a little bit of faculty cases, and you also see that sloped line of student cases has gone up. It's gone down in the past day, but I'm never going to hang my hat on what happened in the last day. So hopefully this is the peak right here. It's weirdly late. You know, it doesn't look like any of the other schools I've seen, in that it's still going up, but also it's hard to compare because active states the data point stays around for probably 2 weeks, I assume. If that's the case, then it's not going up as much as it looks like because each data point is 14 days long in a sense. Okay, so yeah, this is the one that has me scratching my head, and I wish I could be unanimous and say none of the schools are going up, but I looked at this one and it's going up, and here you go. The other one, to go through the other schools, Virginia Tech, they definitely were higher, and they've gone down. Again, they're bumping around. You still have some sporadic outbreaks. This is not a call to relax right now, but it's a call to keep doing what we're doing and to maybe expect it to work. Maybe not to worry too much about what if it doesn't work, because it appears to be working across the nation so far. If it's working, be thankful for the day that it's working and not worrying about the tomorrow when it might stop working. That's the way life is, in my opinion. University of Virginia is reporting all of their cases by positive by weeks, and they tested a lot of dorms because they got a wastewater signal in the week of September 23, and that resulted in a lot of active cases. I don't get this. I cut off what the chart actually is here. This looks a little different from my previous chart, but all I can say is September 2 was 0. It looks like September 30 is going to be 0. And the reason September 23 is up is because of increased surveillance. So I'm going to put them in the category of having gone down, definitely since September 9th. And finally, Louisiana State University, where we don't have a good graph from the school, but we have the county level graph. And the county level graph, unlike the graph of Alabama, is definitely going down. They haven't even had a bad day since the first day of school. This is what we want to see. And so it looks like things are going okay. Now there's a possibility that case reporting is weird. Maybe the schools aren't reporting to the counties. I think they should, and I think they likely would. But there are some caveats. This is just what I'm seeing by pulling the dashboards down. If I find a flaw in this reasoning, I'm going to tell you. Okay? But the thing I want to say is it looks like the flaw in the reasoning was that everyone who was saying every college is going to be a COVID hotspot. In a mild way, it was, and it looks like about 5 to 7% of the students get infected when you get them together and in dorms and stuff like that. But then it goes down, and I've seen that consistently for the schools that test a lot, the schools that test a little. The schools that have pre-testing didn't seem to change the pattern that I saw. Now again, I'm going to wait for the people who can analyze every school to come out and do this same analysis, but I'm fairly confident that this my level of analysis was supported by the preprint that just came out today, and that preprint could only look through 2 weeks of data. So here's 4 weeks of data, or more in the case of the schools, and honestly, it's looking pretty good. And so that's all I can say. Medium term is looking good. Long term, who really knows? But at least we can look at this and live week by week. I fully expect to be able to run my labs this week. And at the end of the day, if I can do that, then so much the better. So let me know, comment if you have questions and things like that. But that's what the data looks like. And if you have a specific question about a specific school, I'm open for any kind of comment that you want. Although I might not know any more than anyone else, But actually, you might have information about one of these schools if they've gone on pause and I haven't known about it. So that's the great thing about the internet. You can hear from anyone. And I'd like to hear from you if you want. All right. Have a good week, everyone. Hopefully I'll check back in a couple weeks with more good news. But all we can do is live week by week. See ya.